Alright YouTube, what is going on? The Weight Ninja 636 here with another exciting moto vlog. Yay! For those of you who are new to my channel and possibly coming over here because you are a subscriber of either 4 and 6 Ninja, Goatfather, or SoCalNinjaRider, first of all, welcome. This is the luxurious view you guys get. Soak it in. Alright, let's get to it. So, today's moto vlog is going to be my response video to SoCalNinjaRider's MOTOTALK topic discussing common rider mistakes. First off, let me say that I am a pretty new rider still. I don't even have a year under my belt. I've got more months, I think, with a bike in the garage than a bike on the street. Due to when I got my license and stuff like that. So, keep that in mind. SoCalNinjaRider had a lot of phenomenal points. So I'm going to probably make a pretty shortened version, simply because I don't have a lot of personal experience. I know he put up some footage of target fixating, which is probably one of the biggest ones to talk about. He also briefly mentioned, it was kind of like in passing, right in the beginning, about gear being a rider mistake. I don't know if it categorizes as a rider mistake or error. Here's a judgment call. I wear gear all the time, but that's just me. If you don't want to wear gear, don't wear gear. I don't think it's smart. I don't know why people don't. The only reason I could possibly be persuaded would be due to excessive heat, and that's about it. To be honest, I think people who wear gear look cooler than people who don't wear gear. I don't think going on the street in a t-shirt and shorts looks cooler than having leathers on. That's just me though. Whatever you're feeling. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, a couple of the key ones that I want to talk about are ones that I've had a little bit of experience with and can talk about. The first one being target fixating. Wherever you're looking, that's where you're going to go, guys. That's why in the MSF course, when you're doing those goofy figure eights and stuff like that, they're telling you to look where you want to go. It's not a joke, it's the real deal. Looking at the ground will get you nowhere. SoCalNinjaRider's video is a prime example. When he showed the video, I mean, it almost looked like he was just trying to go there. Like, he had to pull over and he saw it and he was going to go there. Had he told me that, I'd be like, oh, okay, makes sense. I mean, you don't realize how much target fixating really compromises and or helps your riding ability, you know, until you actually do it or need it. I guess I can try to give some for instances. I've had a couple corners which I've come in a little bit hot, and when doing so, if you come into a situation where you're unsure of what's going to happen, I feel like your good reaction is to look at the worst case scenario. So if you come into like an on-ramp or something like that, a right on-ramp going that way, and there's a wall to your left, if you come in hot and realize you're not like leaned over enough, you're automatically going to be looking at that wall because that's what you think you're going to go into. So if you're like looking at that wall because you're nervous you're going to go into it, and you keep staring at it, I mean, you're going to go into it. It's that simple. It's hard to teach not to do it because it's just something you learn with experience, and knowing that if you're in a situation where you need to get out of, you need to look at where you need to go and not where you might end up. I mean, that's just not how this works. You have to be prepared, which brings you to the next point of having an exit strategy. SoCalNinjaRider also touched base on this, having an exit strategy. It is talked about in the MSF course. You always have to have an out, whether I'm in this lane, knowing that I'm passing this car, so I got a little window here, or the ability, if this guy cuts me off, I can get in the shoulder. I mean, you just have to know certain scenarios are going to call for different things, and to make sure that you have a pretty foolproof backup plan. I haven't had many close calls, thankfully. You know, I've had a couple people merge into my lane and stuff like that. But it hasn't been anything where like I come to the next stop and I'm like, oh, thank God I'm here. I haven't had any of those, which I imagine are inevitable at one point or another. But up until this point, again, because I don't have that much time under my belt, I don't have that yet. Now, I know a bunch of motor vloggers are called out for this response video, and you can make sure to check out theirs. We might be able to put their experiences up. You know, once I have those experiences, I'll definitely post them in my vlogs. and I'll make note of it and refer back to this topic. The last thing I really want to talk about as far as riding mistakes is riding within your limits. I know I've been guilty of this, riding outside my limits sometimes, and I mean, the best thing you can do getting a motorcycle is just going as slow as you possibly can. If that means not riding with anybody for a year, then don't ride with anybody. I mean, it's that simple. Now, anytime, at least when I get a new toy, I always want to test it out, you know, check it out fun. You know, you get a new car, every car you get is always going to seem fast for a second. You're like, oh, let's see what this thing got. And then, you know, your first time on the expressway or whatever, you know, you kind of give it a little pull. I think it's even more so on a bike, because, you know, a bike is meant to go fast. My overall big tip is don't ride outside of your limits. That could be any number of things. If you elected to get a bigger size bike, I think it especially applies for you, because you can get outside your limits very quickly on, you know, 600, Super Sport and up. But riding outside your limits, I think, is a pretty significant thing to consider, especially for new riders. So when I say riding your limits, don't go out with a bunch of your buddies the first day you get a motorcycle who are going up to the mountains. And these guys have been riding for 5-10 years or whatever it might be. And they're out there trying to drag a knee, and they say, hey man, come on. I mean, don't do that, because that we talked about in a different motovlog. But knowing your limits, when you get to those limits, knowing when to stop, I mean, those are real big steps. So again, if that means going super slow for a year, not even riding with anybody because you think they're gonna be instigators and stuff like that, then don't do it. But you know, you do get those occasional pulls that you want to do, and I think that's fine. I got no problem with that. I do it, everybody does it, whatever. Once I have more experience and I can actually talk about things firsthand, I'll be sure to come back to this and do so. To kind of piggyback on the comfort zone level, I've been riding it only for a few months, actually riding, and I rode with some guys earlier this week, which I actually tried to do a motovlog, and they were kind of moving, so it was not the time or place for a motovlog. I do have some video that I will not post. I'll probably just straight delete it, I won't even keep it. But there was, you know, a group of bikes, and you know, there was a destination, and it ended up being like 3 different like riding groups. One was just like the stupid fast, and then the second and third group were together at one point, which I always did. This is my first time riding with this group, and it was pretty slow. I mean, people were going about the speed limit a little bit over. So me and another guy broke off, and you know, we were moving. Just make sure if you go in a group, people do instigate, and don't get caught up in something that you're not comfortable doing. If you get in a group, just randomly that you meet up, and you're like, hey guys, I want to take it slow, and they're like, well, we don't go slow. Be like, alright guys, peace. Catch you next time. If they don't respect you for that, you don't want to ride with them anyways. Alright everybody. That concludes my response video to SoCalNinjaRider's MotoTalk topic. I hope to catch y'all real soon. Peace.